As of January 2020, Vermont had over 1,000 people living each day without a home. News 7's Alexandra Huff takes a look at the life in the Northeast Kingdom without a roof over your head.
To me and you, this is a bus stop. We sit here and wait for RCT to come pick us up. But for others, it's shelter from some of Vermont's harshest conditions, the wind, snow, and even today's rain. Take this picnic table. A great place to enjoy a burger and fries in the spring. But even in these colder winter months, this could be the best bed and breakfast someone is ever going to find.
My partner and I were headed to a job, and we stopped at McDonald's. It was 17 below. This was a couple weeks ago. And guy, I could tell by his clothing, he was sleeping on the bench outside of McDonald's.
Sharon Sandville saw a gentleman in Lyndon eating food out of the trash and sleeping outside. She just had to stop to give him some warm food.
When I see him, it just brings back memories of my brother.
She herself has nearly been homeless and was the primary caretaker of her brother, who was in a similar situation.
He had paranoid schizophrenia, and a lot of times it was a choice for him to not be in a home, even though it was there for him, and he would live on the streets under a bridge, and it was hard to watch.
We don't see it as much because we are smaller and we're more spread out in rural.
The Vermont Coalition to End Homelessness says there were 41 homeless individuals in Caledonia County at the beginning of the pandemic. New statistics show the pandemic has more than doubled the number of people without a permanent home. The U.S. Housing Department found over 2,500 Vermonters in temporary shelters and houses last year.
This past couple of months we've been dealing with a lot of couples who are homeless that are living in cars and local parking rides, Walmart parking lots. We have several people that are being housed in local hotels, the Fairbanks Inn and the Colonnade here locally, who would be on the street if not for federal and social programs.
Bob Terrio is the executive director of Shares Corporation, an organization out of Lyndon trying to help the homeless population of Vermont.
We provide winter clothing, food, stuff that can keep somebody alive on the street for a short period of time.
If you want to help someone you suspect is homeless, offer them a hot drink or food. Terrio says do not give out any of your personal information and don't try to force anything onto anyone.
Alexandra Huff, News 7.
If you or someone you know is struggling to find housing, contact Shares Corporation or the Caledonia and Essex Continuum of Care. In 2022, voters will be deciding who will represent them in local, state, and federal offices. The race for Lieutenant Governor has two Northeast Kingdom candidates looking to replace Molly Gray, who decided to run for Congress. News 7's Alexandra Huff spoke with them to find out why.
Charlie Kimball, Patricia Preston, Kitty Toll, David Zuckerman, Joe Benning. All want to be Vermont's next Lieutenant Governor. But for both Kitty Toll of Danville and Joe Benning of Lyndon, the position is more than just a political office. They want the Northeast Kingdom to have higher representation in the State House.
We're a vital part of the state of Vermont. We're 3 counties in an important part of the state, and even though our population is small, the representation of every Vermonter is critical. To expand rural economic development in this area, we're going to need all of state government to keep all of Vermont healthy.
Even in Montpelier, which is a rather friendly town, but if you walk down the sidewalk, you don't get the same experience as you do if you're in the middle of Lyndonville walking to the post office. If you don't know the names of most people, you know enough to look up and say, hi, how you doing today, and all that. But that's a very friendly part of the entire picture and image that I have of Vermont.
But despite their common Northeast Kingdom roots, Toll and Benning have different topics they would tackle in office. For Toll, broadband is a big focus.
The broadband issues have to be resolved in order to bring more people into this part of the state, to call the Northeast Kingdom their home, to attract businesses here and for people to come here and work remotely or in a hybrid fashion.
Senator Benning says the declining population of the state has forced redistricting lines and put extra stress on local businesses looking for people to hire.
You've got to have a population that is constantly fluid. And that's one of the biggest obstacles that we have right now. So my job, as I see it, the role of the lieutenant governor, is to be out there as kind of a cheerleader for the state of Vermont, and in our case, particularly the Northeast Kingdom.
To fuel their campaigns, each candidate has been fundraising. According to disclosure reports, Toll leads all candidates in fundraising efforts, having raised over $100,000 as of March 15th. Former two-term Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman is second with over $92,000. He also has nearly $4,000 rolling over from his 2020 Vermont governor campaign. Patricia Preston of Burlington, who is the Vermont Council on World Affairs executive director, has raised nearly $90,000 for her campaign. Charlie Kimball of Woodstock has been in the Vermont House of Representatives for the past 3 sessions. He has raised just over $40,000. Benning has raised the fewest dollars at less than $10,000, despite some funds left over from his last state Senate race. Alexandra Huff, News 7.
New candidates still could be on the horizon, with the filing deadline not until May 26th. But after that, Toll and Benning have their sights set on the first hurdle, winning their August 9th primary elections. Not all towns are voting today by ballot or through traditional town meeting gatherings. Instead, Barnet and Sheffield are pushing their Democratic meetings back.
For years, voters have asked Barnet town officials to move to the Australian ballot so those who had to work during the traditional in-person meeting could still have a say. In 2021, the pandemic forced the town to do just that.
When we had Australian ballot last year, remarkably, we had more or less the same amount of people vote Australian ballot as we normally have come to town meeting. It's about 119-20.
Without an increased turnout with Australian ballots, the town is looking to return to an in-person meeting because remote just simply isn't an option.
Our internet in Barnet isn't good enough to satisfy us doing a remote town meeting. Not everyone has the technology, so that wouldn't even allow for full access.
By moving town meeting day to April, the town is hopeful the school will agree to host an in-person meeting. When Governor Phil Scott announced towns could delay town meeting day, Sheffield also jumped at the opportunity.
Nobody knew what the mask policy was going to be. Nobody knew what social distancing requirements were going to be. If we could even find a place, that could accommodate all of that.
Sheffield had to make the decision quickly earlier this year and decided to move their gathering to May once again.
Last year we had it outside in May. The response was excellent. We got a lot of compliments. We got no negative feedback at all.
The town meeting day warning and articles for Sheffield will be posted next month. Alexandra Huff, News 7, Northeast Kingdom.
Sheffield and Barnet are not alone. Kirby residents also voted to delay their town meeting day this morning. The U16 Eastern Championships kicked off on Tuesday as athletes from across the East Coast made their way to Burke Mountain. The 4-day event started with the girls' Super G speed race. Out of 69 competitors, it was Burke Mountain Academy's Beatrice May and Annika Hunt who took the top 2 times, only separated by 61 milliseconds between them. May, who was seeded 9th in the competition, scored a time of 1:16.18. Hunt was ranked first, but had a slightly slower time of 1:16.79. Miriam Makalova also scored in the top 10, completing her run in 1:18.12. In the boys' Super G race, the pattern of Burke Mountain athletes rising to the top continued. Salvador Cornella came in second place with a time of 1:14.27. 35 milliseconds behind him, New York racer Gavin Ebert, Harper Sargent, and Max Soteridis tied for fourth, both completing the slope in 1 minute, 15 seconds, and 9 milliseconds. Soteridis continued his strong performance on the slopes Wednesday when he took first in the giant slalom competition. He skied a combined time of 2:15.92. Burke Mountain Academy students Harper Sargent and Lucas McDermott also scored in the top, Sargent taking 9th place and McDermott taking 11th.
To some, Easter is more than waiting for the Easter Bunny and hunting for eggs. It's about faith. Sunday morning, churches like St. Elizabeth's opened their doors for a special Mass to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Alongside spring, it's a time to celebrate new life. But this year, with the war in Ukraine, COVID-19, and other global challenges, this holiday has taken on new meaning.
I was raised with a lot of, just praying for others and doing things, and that's my hope, that we come together in faith to pray so that there will be changes in our world, because they're scary times.
People of other faiths celebrated the weekend with candlelights, flowers, and music. And, of course, neighborhood children could be seen searching their yards for eggs.